Hi there, this is Jen, and thanks so much for joining me today. Today I am guest designing for Scrapping for Less, and so I will be creating cards with their October kit, which is called Christmas is Covered. If you're not familiar with their kits, they come with a whole lot of stuff. And so here are the 8.5 by 11 cardstock that comes with the kit. Lots of pretty colors. There's a white and then a really light blue. There are 4 different collections and then an extra. So the 4 different collections are called Double Dip, and then the extra is called Banana Split. Included in this month's kit as well is the stencil. And so for the first collection that I'm going to do, I think I actually start on collection number 4, so I'm not going in order. And the name of this collection is Believe, and it has this cute stamp set. And it also has some enamel dots by Gina Marie Designs. Of course, it has an envelope, and then you get 6 double-sided 6x6 pattern papers. And so these are really pretty, kind of a country or rustic collection of Christmas papers. And then so what I decided to do with most of the items in the kit is I picked a sketch. So the kit comes with the sketches. I went ahead and I just printed the same sketch out onto an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and kind of jotted down some ideas of what I wanted to do. I don't follow the sketch exactly in some of them, but I do kind of keep that same outline. And so this was really easy for me to go ahead and just quickly make some cards. And so I'm going to go ahead and use the little tags, and these are great also for gift tags or something like that. You just put a hole punch in them and use them on a present, or even make the little paper ornaments for your Christmas tree. And the card that I'm going to show the process for is using these pattern papers. So we've got the striped pattern paper and then the pattern paper that's got a bit of a wood background along with some Christmas sentiments. And so I cut the striped pattern paper down to 4 1/4 to 5 1/2, and then I just cut this where I wanted, or depending on which words I wanted, and I'm going to make this the diagonal piece across the card. And so if you remember from the sketch, there is a diagonal piece and then a circle element, and so I'm going to go ahead and follow along with that. And I use my paper trimmer a lot because I have a hard time cutting straight. And so for me, it's better safe than sorry. So a lot of the times I will use my paper trimmer to cut even the simplest little pieces. And so I grabbed a piece of twine from my stash. And I'm not making a bow traditionally. I hope you can see that I'm basically just creating some loops and without actually tying, and then I'll take that loose end and wrap it around the center and try and make a knot. So it was a really easy way to make a bow without making the bow in the traditional manner, I suppose. And that will be adhered to the tag using a glue dot. I also am going to pop up that tag, and so I have adhered some foam squares to the back of it. And then I'll create my card base. So I'm creating a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card base using some white cardstock. And a majority of the time, I'd say probably about 99% of the time, I do use white cardstock just because I think that it's easier to put a sentiment on the inside. So, and you can always change your panel color by changing the color of just the panel without changing the color of the entire cardstock, which prevents you from having, for example, a black cardstock in the middle and then having to put a white piece of paper so that the sentiment can be seen. But that's just my preference. So to finish the card off, I just went ahead and added some of those enamel dots. And then this card right here I created using the stencil. The stencil is actually part of the Banana Split portion of the collections, and so that is a different price range. So you would get all of the double dipping collections, which is the 4 collections, and then you'd get the Banana Split, which has that stencil in it. And then here are the other cards that I created using basically the same exact layout, just from that card sketch. I wanted to mention real quick that there is a Rafflecopter or a giveaway, and that information could be found by clicking the link in the description for my blog. That will also allow you to go ahead and check out everybody else who is participating in the blog hop for this release. And so I hope you go ahead and check that out and enter to win. And so my next collection is collection number 2, and it is called Starry Night Wishes. And here are what is included. You've got some square jewels, a shaker mix, and then you've got this really super cute image. I really like this snowman because I think there's so much you can do for it, not only using on cards, but also you can make a shaker tag, and you can make an ornament, or a gift tag or a shaker. I'm going to attempt to make a shaker, and so I have grabbed some acetate. I think this is Judykins acetate. It is supposed to be heat embossable. It does warp a little bit, but to be fair, the heat tool that I use is not a craft heat tool. It is, I believe, something that I took from my husband when I first started card making, and so the heat might be a little bit hotter than you would get with just the heat tool that's made just for crafting. But don't quote me on that. I am not positive. So it does warp a little bit. As you can see, I always hold my heat tool so close to the paper, and that might have something to do with it as well. So I just stamped that up in some VersaFine and then clear embossed it. And then I went ahead and grabbed some dies from my frame to make a frame around that acetate piece so that I could create the shaker. And then I'm taking some double-sided tape, and I'll adhere my acetate piece to that circle, and then I'm going to take some foam strips, and that is going to be my foam for the shaker. And I believe these foam strips are 1/8 inch foam strips, so I use them a lot because they're perfect for under sentiments, and also great for shakers. And so I'm going to use a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 panel, and that blue piece is a piece of the cardstock that came in the kit. And so I'm going to grab a piece of pattern paper and then a piece of the solid white paper, and then more pattern paper to make the flag. So I'm using one of the sketches that is included when you purchase the kit, and it just has a few flags on the bottom, and the layout that I'm doing right now is what the card sketch is. And so I did go ahead also and add the sentiment, which says wishing peace on earth. And then I will adhere my panel to my card base, and next I will put the little shaker pieces onto my card panel and then adhere that shaker window, which does kind of go over the strips on the bottom a little bit, but I think that's okay, and that will finish the first card. The other cards that I created using this sketch and this collection are the same stamp set. As you can see, it's the same exact layout because I am using that sketch. Except for this one, I did a little bit differently. I just used a pattern paper in the background, and I went ahead and colored that snowman with my Copic Chow markers. And then this next one, I used some of the jewels and then the sentiment peace on earth, along with some twine from my stash. And I did, there's 4 envelopes, so there's an envelope that comes with each collection, and so I did create the envelopes for each collection. I did add a piece of that cardstock in the middle, and I don't normally do that, but I think it just adds a little bit something extra, and so I think when I send my Christmas cards out this year, I'm going to do more envelope decoration than I would normally do. And the next collection that I'm doing is collection number 1. It's called Classic Cardinals, and included in this are a stamp by Scrapping for Less. And then the 6x6 paper is also from Scrapping for Less. Actually, all of the pattern paper that is included is from Scrapping for Less. They're just named, the collections are just different. And so I really love these little snowmen papers, and then the bird houses. I don't use the stamp that was included in this, but I do use everything else. And so the card that I'm going to create on screen is super, super easy. And that's the great thing about finding pattern paper or choosing pattern paper, especially if you're not wanting to do a lot of technique or spend a lot of time making cards, or maybe you're just in a hurry for whatever reason. It is nice sometimes just to do a really quick card that doesn't take, a lot of things to do. And so part of that, I think, is finding the right pattern paper. This piece of pattern paper is absolutely perfect to do a really simple, easy card because it had a lot of the elements already there. And so these are the other cards that I created using this collection. That first one, I just used a piece of pattern paper along with some snowflake dies from my stash. On this card, I used the stencil that was in the banana split level, and that was just some a glitter paste. And then here's the card that I created originally. And this one is another super easy one. I used some of the ribbon, a sentiment, and just some pattern paper adhered to the card along with some of the enamel dots. But I think my favorite out of this collection is that snowman, that first one. I just really think that pattern paper is really super pretty. And the great thing about the way Teresa puts these kits together is that you have your little container that's got all of the stuff that you need, and you just create with it. But of course you can mix and match. I usually don't too much. I try and keep each collection with the way that it came, but you definitely can mix and match. And so this next collection is collection number 3, and it's called Mary's Special Delivery, and it's got these beautiful pattern paper. I absolutely love the black and white plaid for Christmas, and it's got this really cool stamp set that I'm going to use to actually put on an envelope. And I'm also going to be using the banana split portion, which comes with this set of tag dies and some shaker mix or sequins and the twine. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to create 2 tags, and I've already gone ahead and used just the tag die by itself to create a solid tag, and then I'm going to stack 2 together and run that through my die cut machine to create that border around the tag. So there's 4 different tag sizes, and again, this is part of the banana split portion. And then I'm going to use my embossing ink to create a watermark, and then I'm just going to take my clear embossing powder and just to basically seal it. And so that is going to be that tag, and I'll go ahead and adhere the frame portion. These would also be great to make a shaker, which I'm going to do on my second tag. And so I'll go ahead and adhere that. And then there's a little space right there. I know the writing's really, probably can't see it, but a space to put somebody's name. And then I used some of the twine that was included to put in the hole on the top of the tag. And I'm going to basically do the same thing as I did with the first one. I used the biggest tag to make a solid piece, and then I took the biggest piece and then the next size down to make the frame. And I am putting my adhesive on, and then I'm going to get this piece of plastic packaging, and that's going to be my window for my shaker stuff. And then I'm going to use, again, the foam tape that I used on the previous card, the shaker card that I created. And so this, again, is a 1/8 inch foam, which is perfect for this. And then I'll spread my shaker bits and then just adhere that frame. And then I will use some thread or twine, one of those, to put in the hole in the tag. I didn't actually put like a to a from on this necessarily, but I was thinking I could probably just put that on the back when I actually use it. So here are the 2 tags that I created. And then the rest of the cards, I use the elements from the Mary's Special Delivery. So this one has a tag, and that's one of the tags that was included. And this says Warm Wishes, and that's the pattern paper that came with the kit and the red piece of paper. And then I used the smallest tag that was in that set. I think that is so cute. And then I just took a heart die from my stash to make the heart, but I really love that tiny little tag. And then I used some of the white enamel dots. And then here is my envelope. And I've taken the stamp, but I've only used the top part of the stamp. So it says Reindeer Express Special Delivery 4, and then I'm going to put the address, whoever I'm addressing it to is going to go underneath. This is a one-piece stamp. It has a bottom part, but I only used the top portion of that stamp. And again, I used a piece of pattern paper on the inside of the envelope. And that will complete this set, as well as finish off all of the cards for this set. If you stuck with me for the video, thank you so much. I know this is a little bit longer than what I usually make. Don't forget to check out my blog so that you can follow along everybody else, as well as enter into the Rafflecopter. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you liked this video or found it informative, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And always, I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to spend with me, and I will catch you next time.